The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Hump Day in the Riv.
Revenge of the
what a day, what a show. What a show we got today.
Yep.
So let's get to the COVID numbers, and so we can get right into this stuff.
You got it. Yesterday's COVID numbers were total cases in Massachusetts, 648,967. Total new cases was 718. Total deaths was 17,293. New deaths, 5. Bristol County had 65,139. That's our count for yesterday. May the 4th be with you yesterday. Today is Revenge of the 5th.
Revenge of the 5th. So let's get right to it, CJ. You got some stuff hot off the presses. What's going on?
Well, it seems like yesterday the school department was bent over and taking it hard. First off, the Secretary of State ordered the school department to review their redactions on that report. That, the report that said and maybe, the report of no report.
Yeah.
They've been ordered to review the redactions and redact the report, making it available for people to read, because they said very clearly that this was not happy.
So in essence, what the state said was they're still trying to cover it up.
Yes,
when
they are.
Released it.
Yes, they are.
Because they over-redacted it, right? The only thing you could see was and the. So
and button
again,
or.
The cover-up continues. The cover-up continues. So people out there, somebody run for school committee. Colin Dyers, everybody else run for school committee. The people who ran, we need to get rid of the Gang of Four without a doubt. Besides continuing, this is just beyond belief how much they're covering it up. Even when they get ordered to release it, they don't release it. They release it in a fashion that makes it virtually impossible to get anything out of it. So, okay, what's next on that? So,
and again, the school committee takes it in the backside again. It seems that yesterday, after I guess being ordered to release all the evaluations on Matt Malone, including all the individual evaluations, there are 48 pages worth of evaluations. Here's the problem. Mimi Larrabee was chairman of that committee. And while these evaluations do have the names of the evaluator redacted, so you don't know who said what, some of these evaluations, I'm looking at them real quickly, they have computerized markings for your status of, good, fair, whatever the case may be. But when you start looking closely, real closely, you start seeing scribbles and hand marks. I guess this evaluation is done on a computer, and it marks off, unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, excellent, whatever the case may be. But the X is in needs improvement, and all of a sudden, somebody scribbled it out and put the X in the P line. And it's on multiple.
So they were tampered with.
I'm looking at one right now that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 lines of areas to be evaluated. All 7 of the responses have been changed. And Mimi
I'll
Larrabee,
tell you what.
Mimi Larrabee was charged with combining all of these evaluations and providing one evaluation to the school committee. The problem is, was the evaluation done accordingly? They're supposed to use a mathematical equation to design this, and it appears that none of that was done. So the question is, did Mimi Larrabee redact or change these answers? Or did somebody else on the school committee decide to do it? Or was it a group of people on the school committee who decided to do it? Again, what are we trying to hide? Colin Dias is bringing this up. He's running for school committee, and he's digging and digging and digging. If this doesn't get the kid elected, nothing.
Oh my Lord! This is great.
So,
well, I wish him luck. I appreciate the fact that he's doing all that work. But again, as we see in some of the things we're going to cover later in the trial, it's exposing the nauseating political underbelly of Fall River and how absolutely corrupt it truly is. I mean, they think they're never going to be seen, and then when people see them, like evaluations, it should be a full investigation. People should be removed from office. And this is the problem with this supposed autonomy that the school department has. That's why it was introduced by the host of ed reform. Because all ed reform did was give these criminals total cover because they have autonomy. And somebody should figure.
Well, I guess we lost Chip there for a moment. I know that he was breaking up, but what happens is that when you look at this, it looks fishy, and that fishiness we can't have. We want true and transparent government, and if the school committee is not going to provide that true, transparent government, who's going to provide it for us? We need to clean out this group of 4, this gang of 4, and clean it up so that we have representatives on the school committee that represent the people, not represent other people, but represent us, not representing the employee, not representing the unions, that represents the people. That's why they're elected. And we need that soon, because right now we have nothing supporting us, nothing giving us any help, and this doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. So it's time that we see this happen, and it's time that we not reelect any of the school committee members, except for Kevin Aguiar and Paul Hart. They're the only 2 that have been fighting regularly and clearly for these people. And they're fighting for the people, not just the superintendent, not just the committee, but fighting for the people who elected.
Well, I don't know if we're going live or what.
Well, I can hear you, but I can't see you. I think your internet connection at home has a problem.
I can start talking, but I don't know if I'm talking to my.
I can hear you.
Screen.
I can hear you
to our viewers. So I apologize for this.
I can hear you. Chip.
But we have an issue, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Chip is having an internet issue. So, with that being said about the school committee and how they've taken it twice now, because the first time they've got to re-redact all of those, they've got to re-redact that entire report that they got. And that's not helpful to the school department because they have to pay again for it to happen. And now we have to look at these evaluations, which also isn't going to be effective for them. I think Chip is having a major problem with his internet connection today. Welcome back, Chip. I can see you. Can you hear me?
Well, Actually, I was connected. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Well, my internet connection did get a slightly weaker. Okay. Well, there may be a delay here, but look, there may have been evaluations which could have resulted in his termination of his performance and all the other crap. So let's move on. And well, so since you did that, let's move on to where the school department got slacked again. Yesterday on the news, Fall River didn't have one story, didn't have two stories, didn't even have three. They had 4 stories that were rooted in Fall River, all negative. What a surprise. First of all, they had a story about the individual who stabbed his girlfriend to death was found guilty at the end of his trial. So that was a horror story. But that 14-year-old autistic child who was basically starved to death by his parents. And part of that story was that the state conducted an investigation, and that investigation condemned the performance of numerous agencies, of course, DCYF, but also the Fall River Public Schools. Because apparently he had numerous absences, they knew of the condition, and there was no follow-up, and he didn't report anything when he was missing for a long school. So again, that's 3 and 2, but it just goes to show, like as I said,
well, see, we keep seeming to losing Chip. We may end up losing them.
Fortunately, we're having well, that can be fortunate in one respect. Fortunately, we're seeing the well, I've got full internet here according to my computer, so I don't know what's going on.
I can hear you now. It's your internet connection. Your internet connection is buffering. You're having breakdowns in your internet connection. You keep breaking.
Not according to my computer.
I know, but you keep breaking up. So both Steve and I are receiving it that way.
Yeah, maybe it's sabotage.
They knew we were going to talk about the school department today.
maybe it's sabotage.
Well, I'm going to get on.
So let's. But as I said, we're revealing a part of Fall River. I'm really irritated now because I really wanted to get this stuff out on the show.
I hear you. I understand what it's like. And right now, I'm going to shift us over into the trial.
This is horseshit. Okay.
I'm going to shift us over into the trial now.
Well, go ahead.
Hopefully, sure. Sometimes if you unplug your cable modem or whatever it is and reset it, it fixes the problem. But then we'll lose you for a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do that in the middle of the show because it'll take me 5 minutes to get back on. So.
Well, the other thing is try to turn off your camera, Chip, and maybe we can just get your audio. Maybe that will work better.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Now, yesterday,
can you hear me now?
We can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
That's a better picture of me anyway. Yes.
It shows that nice shaven head out.
So that's it.
So we can hear you now.
That's a picture of my head actually with a logo with a logo on it.
There you go. I hope you're being paid well for that logo. All right, so let's move on from here.
Let's get into the trial.
Let's get into the trial. We had some amazing people who testified yesterday who proved that Fall River is corrupt as it comes, right down to the department heads. So you can't beat this stuff with a stick. You can't. John Perry took the stand yesterday, and they kept referring to him as the interim director of DCM. I thought he was the director of DCM. If he's the interim director of DCM, who's the director? But that's another story. He admitted under oath that he fudged the numbers for the snow removal budget for Tony Costa, and he paid Tony Costa twice for snow removal that wasn't done. He paid him for the snow removal that was done, and then he gave him another payment for snow removal that wasn't done, a double payment. So that speaks volumes.
CJ, let me
go ahead.
Let me just. I don't believe it was Tony Costa. I believe it was Corey excavating. Wasn't it?
Oh, excuse me. That's right. It was Corey, but the pipe was put for Tony Costa. The pipe was put in for Tony Costa.
Yeah. The pipe was for Tony. Yeah. But again, taxpayers, please listen to this. How much oversight do we truly have on how we spend money in Fall River? We told you why we need a forensic audit for years. They actually paid somebody double for snow removal to pay them. They took it out of a snow, which is fraud, by the way. So we had Gallagher creating a fraudulent overtime document. Now we got the head of DCM paying out of a snow removal budget that we pay for. And then they'll say, oh my God, we ran out of snow removal money. And they're going to get up there and talk about how they track all these snow plows and make sure that they're not being paid when they don't do any work. This, again, shows how corrupt this city is. We see the school department changing, redacting things so you can't receive, suppressing reports, changing documents to support their political agendas. And now, again, we see the misappropriation of taxpayer funds. This was devastating because, you can say, I believe at one point in time, I believe Mr. Perry said that he was told to do this project by the mayor, pay for the project, even though it should have been the individual. So you say, okay, his boss told him to do it. That's the Nuremberg defense. That's what all the Nazis used during the trials on the Holocaust to say, hey, I was just following orders. They told me to kill all these people, and I did it because I was under orders. It didn't work then, and it shouldn't work now. But he said the mayor told him. But when he knowingly paid a bill from money that was appropriated for plowing snow, taxpayer dollars, he committed a crime. And he misappropriated funds. So what we saw yesterday was how corrupt this city truly is and all the backroom deals that take place.
I agree with you. And again, this just screams why we need a forensic audit. John Perry's testimony turned on that flashlight and put it right down on one department. How many other departments are we going to look at that has the same problem? The same problem. Let's start looking at the water department. Let's start looking at the sewer department. I mean, already we're $1 million deficit in DCM for trash removal. Is it for trash removal? Is it for something else? This is the problem. We don't know. Because once you've done something wrong, the public has a difficult time of trusting you after that. And that's the problem we have here right now.
Oh, that's an absolute truth, obviously. And I think this what else is it's being screened for besides a forensic audit, so we can start from a position of knowing where all our money is and also knowing where it was misappropriated. I think it screams for the city council to introduce a resolution where all expenditures have to be reviewed. There has to be a process. and ultimately signed off by our CFO. Because again, we can go all the way back to 91, where they had millions of employee money in a city account and said they didn't know it. Then we had 5 accounts that were dormant for 25 years. Then in 08 again, they had millions of dollars in their account. And now we see they're paying snow money. And why didn't somebody catch that? And unfortunately, remember what Harry Truman said, the buck stops here. The CFO was commissioned to do this. Why didn't she find it? They're going to use the same reason as they did in 91, 08, 16, and all in between. There's always magic money and money that appears and disappears in this city. And they like it that way. Nobody's minding the store. The foxes are in the hen house in government center and have been there for a long time. It's time for the city council to step up and protect the taxpayer and ensure that our money is spent the way it was budgeted and the way it was supposed to be, with the taxpayer being a priority.
I agree. It's a shame that we have to go through this to prove that we've been right. But then again, this is what happens with us. We tell them these stories and we give them the information and they don't believe us and they call us everything under the sun. And then all of a sudden it's proven and nobody apologizes. Nobody says you were right. Nobody does any of that. They just let it go. So again, as I did yesterday on Gene's show, I'm going to do again today on our show. Mr. Mayor, I know you're watching. So open your ears and listen. It's time for you to terminate these people who are being brought into the trial and testifying of their illegal activities, their fraudulent activities. It's time for it to happen. Nobody's going to be able to use the excuse, well, I was told to do it, because as Chip already mentioned, that was the Nuremberg defense and it didn't work there and it shouldn't be working here. John Perry may be a nice guy, but he did something wrong and he admitted he knew it was wrong. He admitted he knew it was wrong. So if he admitted he knew it was wrong, why did he do it? I mean, Attorney Reddington had made it very clear several times through the trial that Mike Dion, that's our CDA director, was an FBI informant. Now, if that's accurate, if that is true, if that's the truth, then why couldn't John Perry be an FBI informant? Why couldn't Chris Pereño be an FBI informant? Why couldn't others, to validate their own credibility? They didn't do that. Some of them didn't do that. And you know what? Those that have no credibility left should either resign or should be terminated, regardless. And Mr. Mayor, this is your department now, because this is your corrupt administration. Even though it comes from a previous administration, you're continuing the corruption.
Well, I tried to be, fair. But, you're right. But I will give the mayor the benefit of the doubt, probably for the wrong reason, because I truly believe he's clueless. But I don't think he knew about this till his testimony came out. If he did, well, then he's guilty, even more guilty. But right now, he is the chairman of the school committee. He should be demanding an investigation into those reports that were apparently changed. He should be putting an investigation into who over-redacted that to cover. We know who it is, but let's confirm it. Due process. He should be moving as the chairman to start investigations on who cannot comply with orders from the state. And on the city side, he should have the CEO and every department head in there and pose the question to all of them. If you know about anything else that has happened like this, you better bring it before the table right now, because there has to be consequences for criminal behavior, for misappropriation of funds, for actually being an accessory to the use and misuse of public funds. And Mary Sahady, as the fiduciary, the chief financial officer, has a legal obligation to ensure that numbers are accurate and in the best interest of her clients, which are the people of Fall River. So you have to get to the bottom of this. You have to implement a system now where there will be accountability and consequences for not abiding by the law and protecting the taxpayer.
Well, I had a conversation with a city councilor yesterday. While they agree with us in form of what we believe should happen, they attempted to justify some of this. Like, for instance, they said, well, what if Mary Sahady didn't know about what was going on? What if Mary Sahady had no idea and she just approved those expenditures? It's her job to know what's going on. It's her job to verify those expenditures. Like it or not, you're paid the big bucks for doing it, Mary. So get paid to do your job. Don't just take it on face value from department heads. And this is what needs to change. We need to start making sure that every single transaction is audited several times before the check is cut. It's going to slow the process down, but guess what? It will protect the funds of the taxpayer.
Boy, is that a really true statement? But remember, CJ, incompetence has been their excuse and their protection for decades. Look at 91. Her firm, Hagen Sahady, Mr. Bruce Haig testified under oath that they did not do an audit of the healthcare, even though it's statutorily required. They did a reconciliation, and he used two words: reconciliation and recreation. And he said he couldn't do a real audit because there were not enough documentation, so the city wasn't keeping its records. When that arbitration was completed, the arbitrator said that the city's books were in a total state of disarray. And in 1991, the city of Fall River said they were going to fix the books. So she has no excuse. We're going back 40 years when they knew that they were not accounting for things properly. She is now the CFO. She has a legal and professional obligation to know. If the job's too overwhelming for her, we'll let her step down. But it's her job. She's a fiduciary. She has to protect those funds and work for her clients. And her client isn't the mayor. It's the people of Fall River. This is inexcusable, and now the spotlight is being shined on the total corruptness and backroom dealing that has gone on for decades in this city. So there's no excuse. Mary Sahady is supposed to know, as you said, CJ, and John Perry should have known better than not bring forth the fact that he was misusing snow removal money.
And how many other departments are we going to look at to find things like this going on? Remember the Terry Sullivan guide. Keep your head down and people will forget all about it. And that's what's happening here. So let's see if the mayor forgets about this time. This is under oath. This is testimony under oath, Mr. Mayor. It's time to hold people accountable, even though it's now the excuse that I was told to do it doesn't hold any water. Well, we're out of time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the technical difficulties with Chip, but Chip, we'll work it out for you. Have a great day. Remember, stay safe.
That's it. Blame it on me.
Wear a mask and have a wonderful day. We'll see you on Friday.